Hey guys, Mariko Berg, Realtor with Bridgewell Real Estate Group, and welcome back to the Bridgewell vlog where I talk about all things real estate, seller tips, buyer tips, real estate market updates, news, the full shebang, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And today's video, I am going to be talking about something very important, but not always super exciting. It is what happens if a real estate appraisal comes in low. So this is extremely important. A lot of calculations, a lot of math, as you can see on the board behind me, but I'm gonna walk you guys through it the best I can. And just be aware, like, this is not easy stuff to get. It can be really confusing. And so at least this is in video format. You can rewatch it if you need to. But as I said, it's a very, very important topic to understand, especially in today's market. In the greater Vancouver area, Fraser Valley, we're seeing tons of subject-free offers in the detached market specifically. And I want to make sure that you guys are kept as safe and protected and educated as possible. And part of that process is really understanding the what ifs. And in this situation, what happens if my appraisal comes in low on a property? So huge risk when it comes to writing subject free is obviously if your appraisal comes in low, how are you going to be able to get financing if you don't have a big enough down payment? So that's going to be a situation that I walk you through today, and also just making sure that you have as much prep work done as possible so that you don't get yourself in that situation. And if you understand this calculation today, you shouldn't end up getting in that situation. So starting off with the examples here. So I've broken it down into what your purchase price is, the down payment that you have thought to put down. I've worked out two different situations, one where you're putting in the minimum 20% down, and another one where we're putting 35% down. So keep in mind, for properties over the $1 million mark in BC, the minimum down payment is 20%. So in turn, what that means is if you're putting a minimum down of 20%, the bank is lending on 80%. So that's that 80-20 loan to value. Appraisal, so banks lend on appraised value. So what happens is in a more standard situation, you're getting a pre-approval, you have an accepted offer with a subject to financing on it for, say a standard 7 days. And when we're dealing with financing, a lot of people have the misconception that, oh, if I get the pre-approval, I'm good to go. But it's not like that. The lender has to approve you and your income, your situation, and they have to approve the property itself. And that's where the appraisal comes in. So, you can see it as, if you're buying a property for $1 million, but the appraisal comes in at $800,000, they're essentially purchasing that property with you. They want to verify that what you've agreed to pay for it is actually the value of the property. So really, banks only lend on appraised value. So you have to be aware that you may be in a situation where you're making up the difference if the appraisal comes in lower than the purchase price, which is what I'll get into. So how does this work? Situation one, we are purchasing a property that is $1.2 million. So if we're putting the minimum of 20% down, because over $1 million you have to put minimum 20% down, that works out to a down payment that I plan to put down as $240,000. So with a down payment of $240,000 and a purchase price of $1.2 million, let's say that when the appraisal gets ordered, appraisal comes through and they say it's only worth $1.05 million. It's $150,000 less than what you've agreed to pay for it. So what happens in this situation is the maximum mortgage that you're going to be able to qualify for this property is 80% of the appraised value. So 80% of $1.05 million is $840,000. So what happens in this situation? You've agreed to purchase a property for $1.2 million. That's done. You're only able to get a mortgage up to 80% of the appraised value, which is $840,000. So $1.2 million less $840,000. The difference is $360K. So in this situation, we have a problem because you need to make up the difference. And the total amount of that difference is $120,000, which is $360,000 less $240,000, the original down that you were going to put. So in this situation, the obvious issue is just What if you don't have an extra $120,000 sitting around? What if you can't get gifted that $120,000? How are you going to complete on this property? This is the risk of subject-free offers, is that if you had a subject to financing and you found out that your revised down has to be $360,000, which is $120K more than the $240 that you were planning at that minimum 20% down, you still have the ability and the right to back out, because that subject to financing is your safety net. Whereas if you wrote a subject-free offer, it's a done deal, you've committed to the property, you've handed in your deposit, that 1.2 million, you're committed to that 1.2 million. That's it. So if, for example, you can't complete in this situation because you can't make up that 120K difference, you lose your deposit and you potentially are, you know, in the realm of a lawsuit, because if that seller has gone out and bought a place and you're not able to complete on the sale, it affects their purchase. So it's not just about losing the deposit. And that's really why I want you guys to be educated and understand these numbers, because if we are right on the cusp of the minimum down payment and you don't have any funds to make up the difference if the appraisal comes in low for whatever reason, you're going to be between a rock and a hard place, and that's never ever where we want you to be. So take a situation too where you might be okay if you wrote a subject-free offer, for example, and the appraisal came in low. And this is a situation where you have more down payment, so you have more of a buffer if it does come in low. So same thing, you purchased for $1.2 million. You have a 35% down in this situation, which is $420,000. So same thing, appraised value comes in at $1,050,000. So it's $150K below the 1.2 that you've agreed to purchase at. Same thing, your maximum mortgage is that 80-20, so the loan on 80% of the appraised value, so that's $840,000. So in this situation, 1.2 less 840 is the same, 360,000, but you'd already planned to put the 420,000 down anyways. So you're fine. The revised minimum down payment based on the lower appraised value is still within the means of down payment that you had originally thought to put down. So this is an example where even if the appraisal comes in low, you will still be able to get financing. This is a situation where if the appraisal comes in low, you may not have enough down unless it's in some other random account or you have access to other funds to make up the difference needed to be able to fund on the purchase. So this is really the big picture of what happens when an appraisal comes in low. As I said, it's really heavy stuff. I know it's a lot, but hopefully this is helpful to get you guys to understand how it works. And really, if you have a bigger buffer, so if you have a bigger down payment, you're going to be better off, or at least in a little bit of a safer situation if you do write a subject-free offer, because your likelihood of getting financing is still quite high. Whereas again, if you're right on that cusp, there's not a lot of wiggle room there. Now again, there's a lot of things that we can do to make sure that these appraisals aren't coming in low. And I know that this video isn't all about subject-free offers, but it kind of works together. And so I do just want to touch on that a little bit. But, you know, subject-free offers doesn't mean that you're not doing your due diligence. We are still reviewing the title, property disclosure statements, maybe the strata documents if it's a strata property, or definitely the strata documents if it's a strata property. We're doing due diligence on that. If it's a detached property, we're calling the city in advance to make sure that there were permits on the property, that, you know, there is no history of grow-ups or things like that. And with regards to financing, we're doing absolutely everything that we can to make sure that you're in a good situation if we are writing a subject-free offer. So we're making sure that you have that pre-approval, which, you know, you should be getting that done before you even get in the car to go shopping and looking at places. And we're communicating with your mortgage broker when you are interested in a property. If we're in a multiple offer scenario, and really in any scenario that we're writing an offer, we're making sure that we're doing that comparative market analysis and running those comps so we can get a realistic idea of what the property is actually worth, so that we don't have an appraisal come in low, because what you pay for it is what market value is based on facts. Now, what I will say is that sometimes real estate's not all about numbers. There's an emotional side to real estate, which is a lot of the times when people can overpay for things. And that's why we have a situation. Multiple offers can get crazy. Things can go subject free, people can overpay. And so understanding the logistics of what happens when an appraisal comes in low, and how you can deal with it will make it just a tad safer for you. So with all of that being said, I mean, we never recommend a subject free offer. It's definitely not the safest option. It's always good to have that subject removal period so that you have something to fall back on, and you have that safety net before you hand in that deposit. But with all that being said, the market is crazy. Unfortunately, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And that's where we're at right now, even though it's not fun. So it's still just about doing all that due diligence as much as you possibly can in advance to make sure that you are as safe as you possibly can be in a non-ideal situation. So I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. I also have a much more long-winded video with John Chan from RBC about all of this, specifically going into subject-free offers from a financing perspective, breaking down these as well with his perspective in mind, and just talking about all things financing. So definitely make sure to check that out. I will leave a link for you guys so that you have a reference to that video. And as always, I'm always here if you need me. Again, my name is Mariko Berg from Bridgewell Real Estate Group. I'm based out of the Greater Vancouver area, and I'm more than happy to help you with your home search, making sure that you guys do everything, like I said, as safely and as educated as possible. So feel free to reach out to me anytime, guys. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see, more financing series, more market updates, whatever you guys want. Leave it down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, because I got a lot of good stuff on the YouTube channel, and I'd be happy to see you guys stick around. So have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.